going to? How did I get here? And what do I need to know? Anyway, where am I going to? How did I get here? And what do I need to know? What am I supposed to do with my life? Can I start living if I don't know which way to go? I heard somebody say in the quiet of the night, if you close your eyes, you'll hear the answer. I just want to find my letter in the Torah. I know it's somewhere out there, if I could only see. I just want to find my letter in the Torah, the one that's written just for me. So many words, so many tokens, I keep finding more every time I look. Sometimes I need to take a little break, sometimes you can get me to close the book. I heard somebody say, if you listen to your heart, you were born with all the answers. I just want to find my letter in the Torah. I know it's somewhere out there, if I could only see. I just want to find my letter in the Torah, the one that's written just for me. It's not about the gold, it's all about the soul we use with every move we make. It's not the biggest name, no, it's how we play the game when we're getting it together, getting it together. I just want to find my letter in the Torah. I know it's somewhere out there, if I could only see. I just want to find my letter in the Torah, one that's written just for me. I just want to find my letter in the Torah. I know it's somewhere out there, if I could only see. I just want to find my letter in the Torah, the one that's written just for me. Now, if I were in California, I'd get you all singing. In Toronto, I'm a little nervous to even offer that opportunity. But raise your hand if you'd sing that chorus with me. It comes, it just comes, yeah? Okay, it's just, I just want to find my letter in the Torah. I know it's somewhere out there if I could only see, okay? That's basically it. I just want to find my letter in the Torah. I know it's somewhere out there, if I could only see. Once again, I just want to find my letter in the Torah, the one that's written just for me. Let's try that one more time. I just want to find my letter in the Torah. Come on, everybody. Know it's somewhere out there, if I could only see. I just want to find my letter in the Torah, the one that's written just for me. I'll take the last ones. I just want to find my letter in the Torah. I just want to find my letter in the Torah. I just want to find my letter in the Torah, written just for everybody. Who am I anyway? Where am I going to? How did I get here? And what do I need to know? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nהיה b'dvaro. We were really going to do a kumsitz afterwards, which we still will, but so we didn't decide whether or not I was going to play for you guys, because we thought it might be like a really uptight and stuffy crowd, but once I saw you guys, I said, let's get that guitar out right now. So big thanks to Rabbi Hanan Gans, who brought the guitar out for me. I really appreciate it.
amazing to be with you guys here in Toronto. I'm asked all the time to come to Toronto. I mean, almost like once a week, every 2 weeks, someone's like, "Oh, would you come to Toronto? Would you come to Toronto?" I'm like, "No." Just kidding. I mean, I'd be happy to come to Toronto. I'm so busy in Jerusalem. It's crazy. Life there is so intense when you do what I do. And there's just almost no way to leave. Like, if I'm going to leave, I usually go to New York, where you just like, you know, you can teach like 1,000 Jews just by walking down the street. And so it's really great to be back here, because every trip I've been to Toronto, this trip will be for 12 hours, but every trip I've been here has been really just amazing each time. And I love coming here. You guys are great, really great. Should we do one more song before we get to the lecture? Yeah, you guys in favor of another song?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I like loosen up a little bit? I'm like boiling here.
Go ahead.
I'm wearing like this long coat. Oh, that's much better. Part of the California on the flyer like allows me to just slowly take off garments. So, tell me my Bermuda shorts and tank top. I got a pair of flip-flops. Okay, here we go. So this song's a little retro, but I think you'll enjoy it. What I need from you all is just repeat whatever I say, okay? So this is where the brainwash begins, okay? I mean, how often you get to a crowd where they're like, just repeat whatever I say. Can you like tell me what it's going to be first, please? So, no, it's just the chorus of kind of a rock song. So it has a, you know, you repeat it, okay? So it's like this. I'll say like this. Look into our people, and you say, look into our people. Got that? It's just like that. It's that easy, okay? Let's practice that. Look into our people. Look into our people. Take a little time.
Take a little time
to be a new beginning.
be a new beginning.
For the end of the line. A few millennia ago, the words were carved in stone. The single greatest gift mankind would ever see. In your image we were cast, not to ever be alone. And you gave us a working world to show your love eternally. Live in the precious connection. We have the opportunity. Passing it on, or we will lose it forever. Look into our people, that you look into our people. Take a little time to be a new beginning. For the end of the line. The merit of generations binds the people to the text. Our ancestors have given their lives for the right to say a prayer. So how is it we're gonna pass this blessing to the next, when most of us cannot recall the reason we should care? Quietly stand on the sidelines. Slowly we throw it away, watching our birthright disappear forever. Look into our people. Let's go.
Look into our people.
Take a little time to be a new beginning. For the end of the line. I'm trying to remember what happens on my CD. I know I remember here I sing. This will become your favorite CD in your car, by the way. brought a limited amount.
The merit of generations binds the people to the text. Our ancestors have given their lives for the right to say a prayer. So how is it you're gonna pass this blessing to the next? Most of us cannot recall the reason we should care. Why you stand on the sidelines? Slowly we throw it away, watching our birthright disappearing forever. Looking to our people. Let's go. Take a little time to be a new beginning, for the end of the line. We're going looking to our people, looking to our nation. Don't deny our children their beautiful tradition. Watching our birthright disappearing forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later we're going to sing some soulful songs.
A little afterwards.
Wow, I got everything under here, tissue and water. No better time to be together than in the preparation for Rosh Hashanah. And a few people really appreciate this time fully because it's the big time of year of reflection. Our year goes in four sections. You know, we got these 12 months broken into 4 sections. Starting Rosh Hashanah is kind of like planting the seed of our year. And then it's like protected, days are getting shorter, the rains are coming, you're protecting that seed underneath. From Hanukkah on, it starts coming out for those 3 months, and they're until it springs forth with Passover. Then it's summertime. The next 3 months is the fruition of this plant we're growing. And then the last 3 months, starting with the 3 weeks of mourning the temple, those last 3 months are reflection. And they culminate in these 40 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, intense reflection of our year. But one of the greatest ways to get in touch, in a way that will, I think, take us all this evening to a new level, is to understand that the reflection we do in owning our year, because what are we really doing on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is we're owning our previous year, is we're getting in touch with who we were that did what we did. I'd like to share with you, I'll just put it on the board as a distinction. I'm going to make a Venn diagram here. And there's a distinction between...
Back. You want to put in
Sure.
so we could see. Thanks.
It's a pretty simple one. So it's a distinction between doing and being. This Yom Kippur will be going through a long list, a laundry list of everything we might have done this year, and if not us, others did it. So we go through this list because we're all connected. It's all in the plurals. You know, it's Ashamnu, Bagadnu, everything's we did. It's all the things we did, but the only reason and the only way you can do anything is because you probably saw yourself in the being as someone capable of doing that. We only do that which we are, in a way. We do that which, and how we hold of ourselves. I mean, obviously, someone who holds of themselves as truly holy, so they do really holy things. And someone who holds of himself or herself as, you know, as maybe the many billboards, Calvin Klein billboards especially, might want you to believe that you're basically a hairless monkey. But when you hold of yourself in a way that's far from that holiness, so then you're capable of doing all kinds of things that are things we're not so proud of and that we have to face up to every year when the high holidays come around again. But what we see is that when we focus on the doing in some hopes that it's going to make the being okay, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. See, we've been trained to believe that doing leads to being. We've been told to do this, do that, and do the other thing, and then you're going to be happy, you're going to be whole, you're going to be well, you're going to be, have peace. And so all the things we do, much of which is working or acquiring, is somehow going to bring us this being. But it's really like a horse with a carrot in front of it that you never get. And most people, in the end of their lives, they'll die, and you could write on their tombstone, did a lot of stuff, but didn't necessarily get to the being that they desired. The proper order of real deep growth inside is to rather focus on the being. We focus on the being. Who have I been? Who have I been? How do I see myself? How do I look at myself? And you'll notice that from the being, that's really what's leading to the doing. So we change the arrow from being instead to the doing. And so instead of me being a certain way and then doing all kinds of things to try to be someone else, instead what I do is I focus on who I'm actually being, in who I really am, and then I do the things that someone who's like that does. Meaning, if I'm a holy man, so I do holy things. If I'm a friendly, loving person, so then you'll find me smiling and hugging, shaking hands with, or greeting warmly, because I'm always doing who I really am. Which leads us on our journey to greatness, because tonight is called Finding Your Greatness. Which leads us to realize that by focusing on the being, you can really find your greatness. Who I'm looking at right now is the most amazing, beautiful people in the world. You people are awesome. Now, a lot of you are looking at me right now going like, that's nice, Rabbi Glaser thinks we're great. You might even feel patronized a little bit by such a statement, like, who's he think he is? He has no idea who we are. I don't know how many people are in here, like 200 people. He certainly doesn't know who's great and who's not. And I'm saying no. I see 200 amazing, awesome, great people. And I'll prove it to you right now. Prove it to you right now. They asked Michelangelo about his statue David in Florence, Italy. Anyone saw David, the statue of David? Yeah, I saw it. It's a very large marble statue. It's considered one of the great masterpieces in the world of sculpture. And they asked Michelangelo, how did you do it? How did you create from a rock of, a big rock of marble? How did you create this masterpiece, David? And he simply answered that David was in there. I just removed what was in the way. I see amazing people in here. And what's in the way is you. I'm not here to preach. I have the same issue. I'm in the same exact boat. And every day of my life is a victory or a failure over what I'm saying about myself compared to who I really am. Every day's got to be a victory for me. I don't know what it is about human beings. This is going to be my first question to God when I get upstairs. I don't know if you get to ask questions. I'm kind of hoping you can, but I only have one question. It's my main question is, why'd you make us so crazy? How is it that every human being universally has locked into his or her being wildly inaccurate statements about who they are? Not getting picked for a team a couple times over, not getting picked for the play a couple times over for a 6-year-old, can lock in a statement that you will find him or her still compensating for in some conversation at a Thanksgiving table, or they're still doing weird things at work. I remember a guy came to my seminar in Jerusalem, flew in before I started coming to the U.S., so people used to fly there. Plenty of Torontonians flew in for the seminar. And he called me at the end of the year. He said his business made completely out of the blue 3% more that year. And he wanted to thank me because he believes it came out of the participation in the seminar. And I'm so sorry, I don't know numbers. I'm so sorry it was only 3%. I mean, that's not a lot of money. He said, 3% of my business is $80 million. And he says, that's only what we made. Do you know how many investors joined our fund after that? So it's much more. I said, well, great. Can you just tell me what part of the seminar did that for you? Every seminar I run, there's a ton. I ran it 3 months ago, just now in Brooklyn, and let's see, I forget how many women were there. Men, there were 27. We had, there's been, of the 27 men, 3 businesses have been started. Each one's already making profits. And whoever was looking for jobs got their jobs. People who always want to buy a house are now well on the way to doing that. It's got a big business back. So I said, can you just tell me which part of the seminar did it? So he says, oh yeah, it was very simple. I realized that I had been hiring my stock analysts and all my executive staff to make me, meaning my criteria for hiring them was me feeling smarter. And so I realized in the middle of your seminar that here I am investing billions of dollars of people's hard-earned money with my own crazy games in my being that probably came from my siblings, because I was a younger sibling and my siblings were so smart and I had to work so hard for everything. Only later I found out that I was smarter than all my siblings, but because I was the younger one, I just thought I was dumb. And so I built my entire hedge fund out of people. I hired people who made me feel smart. So when I flew back from Jerusalem, I fired everybody. And I rehired an entire staff of the greatest people in the industry. He says, the only downfall is no one wants to hear me speak at the board meetings. He used to be like, running the board meetings, and now he just sits there quietly and listens, as they all talk through strategy. Anyway, so that's my big question to God, is that we're our own worst enemy. And I have the same issue. The same issue. Ever since I am 11 years old, I have been saying to myself that I am totally unacceptable. Ever since I'm 11 years old, when I had a terribly embarrassing thing, 10 years old, when I had a terribly embarrassing thing happen to me at my brother's bar mitzvah. And it was the silliest thing that just could have not happened or happened, but it governed the next 23 years of my life, and I only realized it at 33 years old. At 33 years old, as a husband, already married 7 years, with 3 kids. And I'd like you to just imagine for a second that you're a swimming pool. I know that sounds strange. But I'd like you to imagine that you're a swimming pool. The people who share your life, guess where they're swimming? In your pool. The people who share your life swim in your pool. Who was swimming in my pool? Who was swimming in my pool before I was 33 and realized, oh my gosh, I've got some serious bugs in my being? Who was swimming in my pool? My wife. I'd like to say my kids were swimming in my pool too, but it's worse. I think our kids have like an intravenous drip line from like our best and worst. So my kids were definitely in that pool. But at that point, at 33, I was lecturing internationally. I was reaching some 15 to 20,000 people a year. And I would say maybe the biggest price was being paid by the students themselves, who were being duped into believing they were hearing a Torah class, when in fact, I was not giving classes. What was I doing? Taking classes. Because they're going to love me in New York, and they're going to love me in Johannesburg, and they're going to love me in England, they're going to love me in Toronto, and they're going to love me there, and they're going to love me there. Because I was still working out some stupid thing that happened when I was 10 years old, at my brother's bar mitzvah. As a Hasidic rabbi. Not cool, if I can use some California language. Not cool. And where do you think I'm going to get the most acceptance? Meaning to get this kind of vampire, voracious appetite for being loved and accepted. Where do you think I was going to get that? At home or abroad? Abroad. And so you start to understand what home life's like when daddy's always out there putting his face all over the globe. You know, I'd come home and put an atlas on the wall and like pin my face on the cities. All the while playing Mr. Humble, you know. Hey, that was a great lecture. Thank God, thank God. What a wake-up I had. What a wake-up I had at 33 years old. And I thought my life transformed at 23 when I became observant. Because I grew up totally secular. I was raised in an atheistic family. We were raised basically atheists. We were Jewish, you know, we went to shul on high holidays and stuff, but there was no God concept, there was no kosher or anything like that. We had no concept of such things. And here I thought the biggest transformation of my life was when I came after university to Jerusalem, 23 years old, became an observant Jew. I thought that was it, you know, that was my big turnaround. And then, of course, later I got married. I mean, that's major, right? Do you realize what I'm talking about right now? Being or doing. You get that? And you could even be doing a new country. You could be doing a new, you know, you could be now an observant Jew. Oh, but I'm married. I mean, nothing transforms you more than marriage. No. I was doing marriage. My being stayed the same. So then I thought, oh, I'll become Hasidic. Because I wasn't Hasidic originally. I was totally non-Hasidic. Whatever that means. But I guess I didn't have these babies, okay? None of these things. None of the big furry pipe cleaners. Didn't have a Streimel or anything. Now I'll become Hasidic, then it's going to be wonderful. Then I'm fine. Well, that wasn't enough either, so I actually went into an rabbinic ordination program and got ordained by the chief rabbi of Jerusalem. That should do it, right? No doing does anything, really. But what happened was it attacked my digestion. It actually, whatever the being is, it usually gloms onto a part of the body. And throughout my 13 years of running the Possible Use Seminar, it's a seminar that, please God, we're going to launch here in November. Every seminar, someone has some major healing inside their body. But what had happened and how I got my breakthrough at 33 was it attacked my digestion. And really it had been for years and years. I just didn't realize where the lactose intolerance came from, and then like slowly I couldn't swallow, I couldn't digest fried foods, and then I couldn't digest during the morning hours, and then it was getting worse and worse and worse until I finally was coming up to surgery, and I just couldn't understand what was going on. Until, boom, I got it. 10 years old. The coolest girl in my brother's class embarrasses me. And I was working it out ever since, but not working it out. Just a monster in rabbinic clothing. And I was actually in Johannesburg, I remember this. It's the chief rabbi of South Africa. There were 900 people in the room. And he says to me, Rabbi Glaser, you ready to go on? And I was like, is there a bathroom back here? And he's like, now? And I'm like, right now. And at that point I realized, wow. And I came back to Jerusalem, and that was the beginning of the healing of my body, and my life, and my marriage, and my kids. And for the first time in my life, I gave a class. And for the first time in my life, I gave a concert. And what a difference that made. And by the end of, I think, 3 months of healing and clarity, at that point, I grabbed my class at Aish Torah. I was teaching at Aish Torah. I grabbed my class. I said, everyone close your Pirkei Avot books. We were learning ethics of our fathers. Close your books. You're now in a seminar. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, I'm not sure. But let's begin. And we began, and we did it, and it made this incredible impact on them that really changed their lives forever. They're all still meeting. A lot of those guys from that original group are still meeting. The next semester I did it again. And again. And after a while, the Aish Torah guys, that was a beginner's class, the advanced students said, we want in. And so I moved the class to 2 p.m. during lunch so they could be in. And then it just kept going from there and going from there and going from there. And now it's we're at some 3,000 graduates around the world at this point. And it's just an unbelievable experience. Really, really something special. And so tonight, let's take a few moments and talk about our greatness. Your greatness is not far from you. It is not far away at all. Rather, it's very, very close. It is not something that's like, oh, if I could only find it, and how could I find it, and who could help me find it? It's right under your nose. You know why? Because every single one of you was once a toddler, and every toddler has it. You see, you're made of 2 parts. You're made of body and soul. And you got to spend your first 3 years of your life without any self-analysis, without any concept of self-image. You spent your first 3 years of your life in bliss. I mean, all you have to do, raise your hand if you know some 2-year-old in your life, some 1.5, 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old. Okay, check them out. They's happy, yeah? They're good. There are 5 major fears that every single human being has. I'm going to list them here. So the 5 major fears are, I'm going to put them in order of popularity in the world, but Toronto actually has a number 1 that's different than the rest of the world. rejection. It shares, interestingly, it shares South Africa's. Okay, I'll let you guys guess, okay? These are the 5 fears. Rejection's number 1, the biggest fear internationally, but not necessarily here. The next is failure. Okay? The next is just getting rid of the... I'm going to put be and do. That'll be a lot better. The next is failure. The next is being out of what? Control. Why are people giggling? Being out of control. The next is the fear of the unknown. These are the least popular ones. And the last is the fear of, you get a lot of this from Holocaust survivors and their children and grandchildren, is the fear of pain and suffering, which is like all the communities that are post-war have a lot of fear of pain and suffering. And that's why like all the Yiddish imamas from the survivor world, like all the way generationally, like they have the helpings. Like when I go to Brooklyn, the helpings of food are so big, it's like we're padding for the march, you know, in like August in 2014, you know. And so these are the 5 fears. Every human being has all 5 of them, unless they're under 3, when they have none of them. None of them. That's why we have to keep an eye on those toddlers, because they don't have any of these fears. So like if you're changing a diaper in the middle of a party, and you suddenly get a phone call and your kid just kind of takes off, not good. Okay? Yeah. You can't have your kid run around in their birthday suit in the middle of a party. Yeah. They have no concept of rejection. How many times did you try to stand when you were little and just do that little fall over? I mean, did you do it once or twice and say, I quit? Over and over and over and over again, because there was no you to fail. There was no you that failed. And so you could fail and fail and fail. I mean, what is the secret of success, guys? What is the price of success in life? I'm giving you more business advice now. There's a lot of business, a lot of relationship stuff, a lot of business stuff in the work. What is the price for success? Everyone say it?
Persistence.
Failure. Those who are willing to fail will be the successful people, and those who are like everyone else, who just can't stand the taste of failure, will be everyone else. I used to, you know, when I bring my fancy guitar, I have to stash it in the first class cabin. Hopefully they're nice. And recently there was like, the whole plane was packed, but first class in business was practically empty. And I said to the stewardess, who was nice enough to help me stash my guitar, I said to her, would you say there's a lot of competition at the top? She says, yeah, a lot of competition. So, how come business and first class are basically empty and everyone's fighting for the back of the plane? It's like a war zone back there. And she's like, yeah, that's interesting. Because most people spit out failure, never come back for seconds. And those who want to succeed learn to chew on the fat of failure. And they may fail over and over again. Ask anyone very, very successful who's retired. They'll take you out for lunch, actually, because they just love talking about their business and everything they did before their retirement. And you will hear the story of lots of failures. But to a child, there is no failure. Sorry, to a toddler, there's no failure. And the next is the fear of being out of control. The next one that holds us back so much, which, of course, is number one around here for some reason. I don't know why. But the I don't know what it is, but those little toddlers are absolutely fearless and just totally out of control. And they seem to enjoy it. You know, they're happily out of control all the time. And the unknown, pain and suffering. I mean, they don't even know what pain is. You remember the first couple times a toddler cries is only because of the expression on your face. They don't understand it. Because deep down inside, every one of us has this awesome, awesome person inside. We have this awesome self. And it hasn't gone away at all, and it's waiting for you. And it's brand new, and it's always there, and it's always alive. At any age. You'll notice anytime you're suffering in general, it's always because you're thinking about anything but the moment. Anytime you're feeling a loss of well-being, it's because you're just somewhere else. Plans or worries, financial concerns, all kinds of stuff. Anytime we're not in our well-being, it's always because we're somewhere other than here. This moment is the only reality there ever has been. It's the only moment that there is. I mean, the USB interface between God and creation is now. That's all there is. And that's all there is for that toddler. They have no concept of time. No concept of time. If I can remind you of the words, how many more minutes until we're there? You just asked me that like a minute ago. I told you an hour. Oh. A minute later. How many more minutes till we're there? How many more minutes till we're there? How many more minutes until I can leave my chair? How many more minutes till we're done? How many more minutes until I can have some fun? They're just in the moment. There's no concept of time. All of this is available to us because it's right there and always has been. We get to touch it sometimes. We get to tap into it sometimes. Once in a while, we just get into that zone. And have you ever noticed, ladies and gentlemen, when you've been in that zone and you walk down the street, that people nod at you, which didn't normally do so? You ever notice that? You ever notice when you're in your zone, people like relate to you totally differently? People will nod and walk by, they might say something. It's a totally different world when you're in that zone. And what is going on is, when you're in that zone, connectivity begins. There's something about that zone that creates connectivity. And you'll notice it whenever a toddler's in the room, is that everyone feels this like connectivity. Yet us as adults, when you get those moments of being in the zone, you notice the instant gravitational pull that you are in this world. And that connectivity has many words that are synonyms with it. Connectivity, relationship, the L word. What's the L word? Love. Because the old ladies that all the men are like, L, Larry. Old ladies like, love. So I'd like to take just a little turn, and then we'll get a little more practical on how we can all leave with greatness tonight. I'd like to take a little turn, and that turn is to connectivity. Of all the lectures I give throughout the year, I would say the number one reason people come is because they know they're connected when they're with me. They know I'm connecting. I'm going to connect to you. And I'm not only going to connect to you, but I'm going to see your greatness, I'm going to see your beauty. And that you get your beauty by coming out tonight. Because I see it. And I give that to you. And I ask you to give that to everyone you ever meet. No matter who it is. Connectivity is the core of all reality. In Hebrew, it's called hiskashrus, from the word kesher, like tie a knot, to connect one separate thing with another thing. It's called a kesher. He's kashrus. We are all born hardwired for connection. And every single thing you've ever done was only to get it. Now, sometimes it was counterfeit, like, for example, attention. Attention is the counterfeit connection. It's not real. And sometimes we've done it in all kinds of ways to think we're getting connection, when in fact it's far from it. But we are here for connection. The reason you're wearing the fabrics that you're wearing right now is because you feel more connected than them. The reason you're wearing the colors you're wearing right now is you're more connected to those colors. You did not choose them randomly. You're more, unless you're a teenager. You're connected to them. This is your color. You found it. Or colors. We schedule our days based on connection. We avoid those things that take it away. We go for that which gives it. Again, a lot of it's about attention. We will work very hard to get that attention that feels like connection, but it's not the real thing. We will sacrifice great amounts of money or personal freedom to marry somebody. Why? Because we'll get what? Connection. And we'll even sacrifice even more of our money, and we'll start having children. Which sacrifice more money, more time, all kinds of stuff, because we are pursuing connection. We are wildly pursuing connection ever since we were born. That's all we've ever wanted. And God created the world that way. Because when God hid himself, when God hid himself from this world and created this situation we're in, this bubble, this illusion of space and time, that's really mostly vibrational patterns. That God created it with connection out of the dream and hope that perhaps we would bust through the illusion and connect to God. But connection is what it's all about. It's all we've ever wanted. It's all we ever needed. It's really our goal. And you see, everything you've ever done is just to get connection, to avoid things that disconnect. I'm going to go a couple steps deeper now. Do you think I'm teaching in English tonight? Is this English I've been using so far? Guess what? I have not yet said a word in English. All I've done so far is send out wildly complex vibrational patterns. Those vibrational patterns have shot across the room. They have hit a tympanic membrane, a little drum, that's very tight. And so it can handle incredible mathematics. Now, it doesn't do the calculations, it just receives it. It sends it in a wire up to your cerebral cortex where you have billions of neurons that are matching every word I say to every bit of English you've ever heard in the past. And giving you in real time English. But I'm not speaking that English, I'm just sending out the math. Your eyes are doing much more. Because every single physical thing around you right now is made of pure vibrational energy. The entire world is only made of vibrational energy. That's it. There is nothing else. And the creator of the universe is really all there is. And has set up these vibrational patterns in creation. And all we've ever done since we were born is sought some kind of what's called, in Hebrew, tehudah, in English it's called resonance, to resonate with it. We want to resonate. And when you get in the zone and you walk down the street and people start nodding toward you, it's because you've gotten in the zone. You're in the resonance. The common denominator resonance of human connection. And that is where the magic is of life. I discovered this many, many years ago, way before I was 33 and had that breakthrough. Before my digestion was healed and all the great years I've had since then. I discovered this many, many years ago. I understood there was this vibrational pattern, but I never believed you could actually shift yours. I never believed you could shift. I knew it shifted randomly some days, and you were like right in that zone in the pocket. You were in the pocket, and it just like everything's magical. And I certainly never believed that I would be someone who could facilitate the transformation of one's vibrational pattern. But it actually is possible, and I'm able to do it. You're able to do it. Anyone can do it. But in this work that I've been doing, we've been able to shift the vibrational patterns of people. Let me give you an example. I had a very strange group in Jerusalem, 30 women. And, sorry, they weren't strange. They were very nice ladies. But what was strange about the group was, I don't know where it was coming from, but 4 of these 30 women had been so badly abused as children that, I mean, this is really bad, that all 4 of them were told by authorities that they cannot have contact with their families. And the least of which was 10 years already. Meaning the other ones were more than 10 years, and the least of which had already had 10 years of zero contact with their families, and not one of the 4 had, not one of the 4's families knew they even lived in Israel at this point. Meaning none of them knew they had moved to Israel previously. After the seminar, which is many, many hours, the seminar works in the only way it works is it has to be guided, and it has to be, the hours can't be broken up. So it's all in in Jerusalem it's all in 1 week. In Toronto it's going to be 4 days straight, bigger hours in Jerusalem. It has to be, you can't have a chance to like get back to yourself, or else you'll lose the shift in the vibrational pattern. It has to hit you every day. And lots of hours. And then what happens around halfway through is something opens up, and then the shift happens right there. And anyway, but after all the work, we meet a whole week later for everyone to come back and like share their victories. We're back at our victory party a week later from this particular group. You ready for this? All 4 women were tracked down by their families, found in Israel, contacted with loving and connective messages, whether they were on their cell phones, whether they were on their emails, or they actually got them on the phone. All 4 of them. Weird. Because vibrational patterns never end. When I'm surfing in California, some of those waves are coming from New Zealand in the South Swells, and many of them are coming from the Aleutian Islands in north near Alaska. Waves don't stop till they hit the shore. And if there's no shore, it just keeps going. The only reason my voice ends here is because the walls are bouncing it back. But the human vibrational patterns, when you start to learn how to truly focus it, it doesn't have any boundaries. Because human beings are created in the image of God. God has no boundaries. And human beings' vibrational patterns go on and on and on. I mean, we all know that in a way, because you ever thought about someone and then they walk around the corner? You know what I mean? What is that? It's weird. It's not physically possible that you suddenly thought about that person and then they walk right around that corner. Or you ever notice this? You'll think about you'll see a person who reminds you of a person, and then you see that person also right after. I mean, you ever thought about someone and then they call you? Even if they're like overseas or something like that? And I imagine after 13 years of these stories, they're just incredible, incredible stories. You can imagine when you have your shift in vibrational patterns, what a job interview comes out like. Whoa. Because when you're radiating the vibrational patterns of hire me for a lot of money, it seems to have a big effect on the interviewing. Unless, of course, our being's still all silly. I had a student at Aisha Torah who had a job interview, and they said, please call us next week. Hey, what does that mean? Good interview or bad interview? Good. Right, so I got mixed. One said bad, one said good. So he took that as like, I didn't get the job. He was terribly embarrassed in front of his family. He didn't even go for any more job interviews of any other type for the rest of the month. The end of the month, he gets a call from the company. They're like, listen, we interviewed everybody and we just haven't met anyone quite like you. Why didn't you call us back? You were supposed to be in second round interviews. He was like, oh, I thought calling you back meant like, you know, forget about it. You know, no. It's all the being. It's time now for all of us right now, everyone in this room, at least now. Let's start with tonight. We're going into Rosh Hashanah. We gotta be honest. The whole point of Rosh Hashanah is like the one day we're like being real. Yom Kippur, we're being real. Rosh Hashanah is like reality day. You know, we get to live in our crazy illusion all year. And Rosh Hashanah, we all wake up. I mean, it's like the ultimate alarm clock. You know, wake up and get back to reality. Let's jumpstart Rosh Hashanah right now by living in the reality of how awesome we are. I want everyone, you don't have to say it out loud, but everyone just in their heart right now say, I'm awesome. Just say it, because it's absolutely true and it's not ego. See, the Gentile definition of humility is to say I'm nothing. In Judaism, it's to say I'm awesome. You know why? Guess who made you awesome? God. Can I give you the definition of humility in Judaism? Recognizing your greatness as coming from God. You're not the source of how awesome you are. God's the source. Because God put inside that toddler the soul. And that toddler is so much more in touch with the soul. Because he has yet to become that self-aware, bug saying all kinds of stuff about you based on getting like forgotten in the supermarket or left in the park or in shul or something. Let's all take a moment, just a moment, and touch back into how great we are. I'm not talking about doing right now, I'm talking about being. In all of our being. In our real essence of our being. When you strip away all the stuff, all the voices, and all the things we've said, when you strip it all away and you get in touch, you realize that underneath all of that is the soul. And you're awesome. Really amazing. And I'd like to just prove that to you all. And then we'll break into the kumsitz. Okay? You guys know what kumsitz means in Yiddish? Kum means come, and sitz means say. Come say. Which means we're going to play some spiritual music and sing together. But let me just prove it to you all. Please cooperate with me. Everyone raise your index finger for a sec. Oh, very nice. Okay, everybody, come on. All right, okay. And now I want you to point to yourselves on 3. 1, 2, 3. Point to yourself. Okay, some of you are a little reluctant, but I'd say about 98% of the room pointed here. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but we had, I'll just tell you what's there. That was clothing, skin, blood, bones, and inside there's a pump. All it does is pump blood. And may it continue pumping blood. See, all the ladies are remain, all the men are like, So, no offense, but you're not a pump. That can't possibly be who you are. But you all pointed there, and I think we all point there because there's very much of our being is here. You know, when you're feeling emotions, it's all right here. And that's our chest. The women, the chest opens up, and the men, the chest like tightens up. Like, uh-oh, here come the tears up. Tighten it up. That's another thing we do in our seminars. We actually learn to open it up and let it come out. Is one of the proofs of God, for those who need a proof of God, one of the proofs of God is that human beings were designed with tears. See, every animal with eyes has to have tear ducts, which has these little microscopic amounts of saline to lubricate the eye. Eye requires lubrication, and we should all be blessed to have eyes that do that properly. I've known a few people who have suffered not having that. But the drops lubricate the eyes. Every animal, from snakes to birds to you name it, they all have it. Human beings are the only animal in the entire kingdom of the eyes kingdom, which almost every animal has eyes, that has the ability to create some 500 times the amount of liquid than necessary to lubricate the eye. Only us. We're the only ones who have it. And the reason is because God created us very emotionally complicated. I mean, you could call it sophisticated, but it's really just complicated. And we go through a lot. We suck in a lot. We're like sponges, sponging in every event, everything that happens to us. And the reason why children are so happy is because as soon as they pull it in, they release it. But when you get older and you stop using your actual human apparatus of releasing the pain, so what happens is we hold it in. And pain that's held in, because we lock the valve. The same valve for joy is the same valve for pain. It's the same valve. So if you think you're going to lock down the valve of pain, don't expect it to suddenly open up when it's joy time. And we become shells of people. And the stuff we hold in festers and rots. But when we actually use the apparatus that God created us with, and when we feel those feelings and we release those feelings, so then the pain goes out and the joy comes in. I am the saddest, happiest person I know. I've learned. I didn't originally. I was this tough surfer guy, and I never cried. Never cried. I was so cool. You know, cool. Never cried. But I've learned how to cry. When it's sad, I cry. Because when it's happy, I'm happy. And I want to use this that I've been given. And that's one of the things we learn to do in the seminars, how to just release it so we can get to the joy. Okay, sorry to do this to you guys, but we're almost done. Everyone put your fingers up, index finger out. Let's try again, because you are not a pump. Okay? And everyone now, don't go here again, because you're not a pump. Everyone point to yourselves. So, all the men went here. Some of the women are kind of going like, the men, some pointing up now. Okay, you can put your fingers down. For those appointed here, let's just cut to the chase there. They got skin, blood, bone, and then you got this like gushy thing called the brain. We can go into that. We already did earlier. It's made of neurons, billions of them. They're microscopic. In fact, you'd have to multiply it some 10,000 times to even make it visible. They all look identical to one another because they are basically identical to one another. And what they do is all they do is just take in stimulus. They take in stimulus. And since we're in a synagogue, I'll add the fact that they're atheists. Because neurons, they just take touch, sound, sight, that kind of stuff. And that's why the laws with our tefillin, one of the laws of our tefillin is you have to put your tefillin on above the hairline. Why? Because we have a little window up there. On a baby, it's still soft. With adults, it's closed, but it's still there. And it's actually in English, it's got an amazing name. It's called the Fontanelle, which is cool because it sounds like the fountain of God. But in English, it's called the Fontanelle. And the tefillin must go over that because it's right over the cerebral cortex, which is where all the neurons are, to at least at the beginning of your day, you can impress upon your atheist neurons that there's a God. So that perhaps you'll think about God throughout your day. The mezuzah is there too also. It's also for that. When you walk out of your house and you're going in your house, you can make it a sanctuary of godliness. Once you walk out though, no more rules for like, your little sanctuary of godliness, then it's up to you. So you touch that mezuzah and give a kiss and get out there. You're not your neurons. You're not one of them, you're not all of them. I mean, imagine I borrowed someone's neurons. Ask someone's name here. Can I have your name, sir? Yeah.
Moi.
Moi? Moi. Can I borrow just one of your billions of neurons, please? Okay, imagine I borrow Moi's neuron, yeah? And now I put it on an overhead projector. I multiply it by 10,000 times so we can now see it. Do you guys think that's going to be now a big picture of Moi going, "Hey guys, it's me, Moi"? Not. And if I took one of Moi's neurons and like put it into Charles's head, Charles isn't going to suddenly love strawberry ice cream.
No, I wouldn't.
Just because Moi does. You like strawberry ice cream? He does. I always wonder if I'm going to hit that. Hit it, yeah. So, anyway, Charles isn't going to love it because he got one of Moi's neurons. If you're not one of your neurons, which you're not, none of those neurons are you. Neurons only do one or two things. You ready for this? All a neuron does is fire or doesn't fire. Fire and doesn't fire. It's very simple. It's a 1 or a 0. Either fires a 1 or it's a 0. It's binary code. Well, when you put billions of firing and not firing, it creates patterns just like on a DVD. It's made of 1s and 0s. You put enough of them together, it makes a movie. Or music. Your neurons are just 1s and 0s. So, everybody, where would you like to point now? Where do you want to point now? And the answer is, you can't. Because guess what? None of that is you. And in brain science, you want to hear something? They've mapped the entire brain. Guess what the one thing they can't find is? You. They can find taste, sight, even emotions, love, fear, anxiety. Everything's in the brain, except for you. So the question is, in the end, who are you? And the answer is, you are awesome. You are amazing, and you are a neshama, you are a soul. And you are created in the image of God. You have a body, but you are not your body. And my teacher used to always say, Rabbi Noah Weinberg used to always say, don't say you're hungry, just say my body's hungry. Don't say I'm tired, just say your body's tired. Stay clear with the fact that you are a part of the infinite. You are amazing. You are awesome. In the city of gold, I left a little prayer pressed inside your walls of stone. And I pledged my heart to carry out your will if you'd only make it known. Patiently, you waited until I could hear the tune. Imitzion, Hashem,
the desert night sweeps the seven gates, and the stars light up the sky. Listen, I can hear your voice whispering on the wind when I stop to hear the cry from Jerusalem. Your inspiration feeds a hungry world. Imitzion, Tetzei Torah, Hashem, Yerushalayim. Imitzion, Tetzei Torah, Hashem, Yerushalayim. In the city of gold, this perfect stranger finally feels at home.
You guys want to sing with me? It's my heartbeat. Together.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah
Try it.
udevashem mirushalayim.
Fake it till you make it.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udevashem mirushalayim.
Come on, put some hands in it.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udevashem mirushalayim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udevashem mirushalayim.